We're here this evening at the beautiful home of Mark and Carolyn Ain, who have been fantastic supporters of both the Simon Business School and also of the University of Rochester. And in recognition of their philanthropy, we renamed the University of Rochester Center for Entrepreneurship the Ain Center for Entrepreneurship. And we're very happy to have the opportunity to talk to them tonight. And let me start by asking you, Mark, how did you end up at the Simon Business School? It wasn't even called that back then, was it?
No, actually I was in the first full-time class at the University of Rochester MBA program. I had graduated from MIT and then spent a year traveling in Europe, working in New York City. And I decided during that year to apply for an MBA.
So let's talk a little bit about philanthropy, because that must have been one of your early discussions when you were sort of trying to find out a little bit more about each other.
I had become involved sometime after we met in a school for emotionally disturbed boys and girls. And I introduced Carolyn to the school.
So I would go to work with the kids who were in kindergarten and first grade and second grade and read to them after school and do whatever I could to help those kids. I've just always wanted to do those kinds of things. Yeah, make a difference.
Absolutely, that's great.
And that kind of started our philanthropic career. And we thought about it a lot. And we decided that what we wanted to do with our philanthropy was help young people.
I just finished listening to a amazing talk by Sally Blanche. She's the dean at Northwestern. And she was talking about how underrated the good that we do at business schools is. And I think it's something you feel very much about, Mark, in terms of entrepreneurship, how it creates employment, how it creates wealth, and how it changes societies. That must have been part of what you were thinking about when you wanted to get more involved with the Entrepreneurship Center.
I always knew I wanted to start a company. And I was reasonably successful doing so. And so when it came time to think about what I wanted to do with philanthropy, I wanted to give back. And the natural thing to give back was to people who help them become entrepreneurs.
So let's talk a little bit about Kronos, how you got started with your company.
Well, I was a consultant in the Boston area. Mm-hmm. And after 3.5 years, I left and started my own consulting business, the idea that I was going to think about a product and start a company. And in early '77, I stumbled upon the old mechanical time clock. That was an industry that was rife for automation, and microprocessors had just been invented, so decided to go for it.
How many people does Kronos employ today?
Oh, I think we're probably above 4,500 now worldwide.
What was the moment when you said to yourself, wow, this is going to work?
Well, the early years were very hard. I never raised a lot of money in any one round, and I never took money from people who wanted to buy preferred stock or convertible securities, because I wanted them to have the same rights on their stock I had on mine.
Right.
And to be honest, if I hadn't done that, they probably would have kicked me out early on. But, you know, I kept raising rounds of money. We finally got to a point in '86, '87 when it was time to become profitable. And that's when I realized that, you know, we weren't out of the woods, but we were on our way.
One of the things the center is now going to be producing is a lot of young, new entrepreneurs. What's the lesson that you feel that you've learned that you could give them that would help them the most as they start their own businesses?
I guess the thing that's most important in my mind for a young entrepreneur is to find a mentor. They have the perspective. They've been there, they've done that, and they won't get caught up in the day-to-day and week-to-week, but can give you the broader perspective on what you're doing.
Right. Okay, so let's move on a little bit to one of your favorite pet projects, which is the business competition that gets held every year. So how did you come to think about that and start that, and what got that off the ground?
One of the best ways to train people to be entrepreneurs is to have them write a business plan around an idea. Right. And so we started a competition open to anybody in the university to write a business plan. And I think this will be the 11th year this year, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And in fact, you know, one year an undergraduate won it.
Why is entrepreneurship important to business?
I think entrepreneurship invigorates societies. You're kind of reinventing yourself in society as you go all the time.
What's your sort of view, and Carolyn, I should ask you this as well, of course, is what's your view on the importance of philanthropy?
It's more than just handing somebody a check. What Mark has done by starting many of these programs is he teaches them some things that a college or a university may not actually be able to teach.
Simon didn't have a real entrepreneur program when I visited, and I just felt this was a place that I could really make a difference.
One of the things that you visited the last time you were in Rochester was the Incubator Center, and you had a little bit of a look at what they're doing there. Why don't you tell us about that?
So for the last 5 or 6 years, Carolyn and I have paid the rent and financed the incubator. Well, when I visited in October, there are at least 3, maybe 4 companies that are on their way.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
We've just had the best time getting to know, seriously know, so many people.
What would you say to people who are sort of thinking about giving back to their alma mater?
I think they've got to visit their alma mater, and they've got to find something where they feel they can make a difference. Being a member of the Board of Trustees, I've met some of the most outstanding people that I've ever met. The students who have graduated 4 or 5 years ago and still stay in touch. We get together periodically, and that's very rewarding. It's like having another set of children.
Well, it's been an absolute privilege and an honor to have this opportunity to talk to both of you. And we at Simon School and at the University of Rochester would just like to thank you very much for everything that you've done for us at Rochester. Thanks.
We're honored.
Here we are.